Josh, okay, man, it's time to get to the point that I've been very excited for. We're going to talk about the Halo campaign preview impressions. We're not going to go into any spoilers. Josh, before I really get into this, because you know I'm going to have a lot to say, what are your initial impressions? What have you looked at? What have you seen so far? What are your thoughts on Halo Infinite's campaign from what we've seen so far?
Man, okay, so I've been staying clear of spoilers as best I can with this. It's been kind of a tough situation to be in because it's like some people that are kind of getting this early access are like posting, talking about spoilers. Other ones aren't, and some of them, like, you know, it's just all around, and it's really confusing. I've seen even some that have posted like thumbnails of like Easter eggs and stuff, and it's like that's stuff that a lot of people want to like experience in the game for themselves. It's really kind of a weird, tough point to be in, because when I first saw this stuff, I was like, just release the fucking game already. Like, you guys clearly do not want to come in at that December 8th release date. That was me being salty, though, because that was me just being like kind of upset. I was like,
yeah,
I don't understand, like, you know, again, going back to the release date stuff, you know, you have the multiplayer come out earlier than anticipated, and then now you're starting to show this stuff. Them showing this stuff, to be clear, you know, this stuff is normal. Like, this is what every, you know, kind of campaign or stuff goes through. I mean, they've done it with every Halo, where, you know, influencers and like that, and people like at IGN get this access and get to talk about it. It makes sense it's happening right now, but it also just feels like, aren't there better ways to promote this game without giving much more away? I even heard, and I can't remember where, that someone, it might have been IGN, but someone was saying, like, you know, most of the campaign has been shrouded in secrecy, and I thought, how? And also, why is that a point of contention for warranting us getting more info on that? Like, shouldn't we not know what to expect? I didn't know what the hell I was expecting when I played Combat Evolved. I sure as hell didn't know there was going to be Flood in it. So why is this a thing? So I think this is like a necessary evil, is what I kind of feel is where we're at right now. It's like, I'm really happy to see influencers get access to it. I'm really happy to see people feeling good. The general consensus out there is that this is an amazing experience, and we are in for a real treat, and it's great to see that buzz after 4 and 5. Not that 4 and 5 didn't have that kind of buzz, because if you look back, they also kind of did, to be honest. But it just feels different with this one. But
see,
I'm just
Josh,
like,
I kind of agree with you, and then also have a counter.
Sure, go for it.
Same thing. So, once again, guys, you don't have to worry. We won't talk about anything spoiler heavy.
Yes,
at
no
all.
spoilers for sure.
I have watched more than Josh because I'm not as concerned about spoilers. So I do know some stuff, but I'm not going to say any of it. But here's the thing. So on one hand, I'm with Josh. I'm like, I would rather just, you know, it'd be nice if they just didn't release stuff and I could just go in and experience it fresh, because that's kind of how, you know, that's such a great way to experience the game. But the one thing I will say, after watching a lot of these campaign previews, like, and reading like Alex's article and checking up on videos from Hidden Xperia and Halo Canon and Mint Blitz, all these guys did great jobs with the campaign preview. What I'm noticing is this campaign is more ambitious and something more to be excited about than I even realized. Like, the nice thing about them releasing these previews is that it's actually, for the first time, giving me an idea of what this game is, and I feel like they've honestly undersold it, which is great, which is so good. That's so much better than the direction.
That's a good point. I feel that way too.
Yeah, and just watching it, once again, no spoilers, but like some of the stuff I've seen and heard, I'm like, that's really, really cool. I can't believe they put that in the game. Then I watched the people play out in the open world, and I see how it's like you can literally go anywhere and do anything. Like, they didn't really go in hard trying to sell this like Todd Howard, where they're like, if you see that mountain, you can go there. But the truth is, if you see that mountain, you can go there. Like, I'm watching these people play the campaign, and they can go anywhere and do anything. And I even saw somebody like went somewhere super high up where it seemed like, okay, obviously they didn't intend for you to be up here. And they got up to this spot on the top, and there's just a jackal sniper up there hidden, waiting for you to walk by. And it's like,
oh, nice.
Holy, like this, you're able to actually go around, go to this top spot, and get to jump on this jackal. Like, they actually thought that stuff through. There's so many enemies on the map. It's so populated. As from all the different people I watched play the campaign and the different places they went, it didn't seem like there was any spots where there wasn't enemies or there wasn't something to do. It felt like everything was just designed. It had a proper space. So, I mean, my impressions after watching some of these previews is like the game is far more cinematic than I thought it would be. It's got far more awesome lore and callback stuff than I ever thought it would have. And the open world,
nice.
It seems like it's actually allowing you to do so much more than I thought you could. And I mean, you're able to switch through you're able to hold all the equipment at once. You're able to switch through holding your grapple. Like you have the grapple shot, and you can switch over and use your what's the thing that lets you detect enemies? The threat sensor.
Yeah.
Thrust. You can keep all this stuff on you.
Nice. Okay, so it's just mitigated in the campaign. I gotcha. Multiplayer.
The multiplayer. Yeah, and then like the grapple hook. Obviously, it doesn't run out. It keeps recharging.
Right.
The game just looks like a complete revitalization of the series. It's just breathing new life into it. So much to compare to Breath of the Wild. It's crazy how much it reminds me of that game. But I'm super excited. To go back and pass it back over to Josh. What Josh said about not revealing so much. It does seem like there's a better way to market this game than to just be like, yo, here's giant chunks of the first 4 hours of the game. But at the same time, because I watched it, my expectations are actually risen quite a bit, and it seems really, really good. And I mean, it's unanimous across the board. People are saying this game's special, this game's amazing. If the rest of the campaign is anything like the first 4 hours, potentially 10-10. Some people are saying potentially the best campaign ever. Some very hyperbolic stuff being thrown out there, but it's exciting. I don't know. What do you think, Josh?
I do think it is a bit of hyperbolic stuff. I think, people are so thirsty for a game, having waited for so long to get one. It's just, they're going to soak... Everything's going to be awesome in this. And plus, since it's such a callback in so many ways, I think people are going to go there. But at the same time, it's amazing to see that, and there might be a lot of genuine truth in there. We don't know. But it's just overall exciting to see people this excited for a Halo game. This close to release, because I feel like even with Halo 5, I'd say around this point for Halo 5, I mean, we still had the expectations that we were going to be hunting the truth, we were going to be hunting Chief and stuff like that. But you still, I don't know, it's where you could start to see the layers begin getting peeled back more, and then you started getting, leaked information for Halo 5, and it was like Chief's only in 3 missions, and all this kind of stuff, and it just started to set a weird precedent. So we're at this point now with Halo Infinite, but instead it's like, this campaign's really, really good. Could be the best ever. And it's like, well, damn, that's a good statement to be having in 2021.
And they're not too heavy on the details. Like, we're not expecting this hunt the truth thing. We're more just like, okay, so I hear we're on a Halo ring and we're fighting cool aliens. And that's a great way to approach the game, rather than I have all these story expectations. It's
got me thinking, though, I'm beginning to wonder, like, am I going to, in subsequent playthroughs, really enjoy this thoroughly? Like, in the open sense, I love it. It's new. That's kind of what I've always wanted.
Yeah.
But like, Halo is so known for like distinct levels, memorable levels. And if this, I mean, I know it's gonna sort of have that, but also sort of not. But like, will we walk away, all being able to like, hey, remember this one section that was like at nighttime that we got to experience? And then Brian might be like, well, Josh, that didn't happen to me at nighttime. That happened during the daytime. And it's going to be different, which in some ways, it's going to be more of a personal experience, but it also could be kind of different and kind of might kind of miss those memorable moments. I mean, I don't know. I mean, overall, I'm excited to see what it turns out to be, and this only increases my hype. I'm just wondering, like, now that we're at this point, what's Halo Infinite's legacy going to be like a year out, 2 years out, in terms of the campaign, in terms of like the splash effect, how it landed, like, how are people going to take to that once the rose-tinted goggles are off, in a sense, or at least the hype goggles are off? And what's going to be the big takeaways? What's going to be the pros? What's going to be the cons? What did Halo Infinite do right? What is it still working on to improve? What do people miss about the older games that are not in this one? You know what I mean? All those types of questions, I can't wait to experience, good or bad.
Well, I got a couple things to say, Josh. First, good news. Not the first 2 missions of the game are not in the open world. They're in interior regular levels like old school Halo, and you are able to replay missions just like you would original Halo campaigns, even though it's open world. Even in the open world, you're able to go replay those, so that's good news.
Is it almost similar to Destiny in that sense? Or like Destiny 2?
That could be, yeah, something like that. Okay. But, dude, I mean, it's crazy. Like, I know to you, Josh, somebody who's not really a Zelda fan, you're probably thinking, like, it probably seems to you like we're just Zelda fans liking to talk about a game we love, but I can't drive home enough how much the Zelda series and the Halo series are very much mirroring each other right now, because you're talking about the legacy and everything. Well, so Zelda, this super popular franchise that people have loved forever. Same for Halo, super popular franchise people love for 20 years. Zelda, basically what it did is it kept innovating over and over and over again. And then, you get to Ocarina of Time, it took it into 3D. Then you get, like, Wind Waker and Majora's Mask and Twilight Princess and these games. They improved in some ways on the formula of Ocarina of Time, but more or less they were just kind of doing Ocarina of Time over again with improvements here and there. And then what it all culminated in is that in 2011, for the Wii, they released Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. And Skyward Sword was like this culmination of, like, we've gone too far down this path. We haven't innovated. We've kind of done this same thing over and over again. And when everyone reached Skyward Sword, people were kind of getting, like, burnt out on Zelda. They were like, man, it's just the same thing over and over again. And they're kind of continuing to do this over and over again. Like, I'm done with it. And you saw Skyward Sword, its legacy is not that great. A lot of people see it as the worst Zelda. I know there's some people listening that's like their favorite, and that's totally cool. It does have great stuff in it. But it was kind of this moment where Nintendo had to go, okay, we got to reevaluate because this is not what the fans wanted, and the series is going too far down this direction. Now, what does that sound like? You go to Halo, and it's like Halo just kept innovating. Halo 1, Halo 2, Halo 3. People were loving these games, and then it started to go, okay, Reach, good, ODST, good, but, more of the same. Halo 4, kind of more of the same, but also borrowing influences, and then Halo 5, straight identity crisis. What does this game want to be? And, then going back to Zelda, they come out with Breath of the Wild. And what was Breath of the Wild? Breath of the Wild was this completely fresh take on the formula, open world format.
To formula? You know how much sacrifice?
Damn, that came out of nowhere. William Dafoe moment. But no, so like
I'm something of a scientist myself, Brian.
Yeah, me too.
I'm sorry, man. Go ahead.
No, you're good. Breath of the Wild. What ended up happening is Breath of the Wild changed so much of the normal formula that today, and I think most people listening will agree with me, Breath of the Wild is seen as either the best Zelda game ever made or someone's least favorite. And the reason that is because it's a genuinely 10/10, just amazing game, but it did throw away some of the old familiar things of Zelda in favor of that. So you got people who are traditionalists who just can't vibe with Breath of the Wild, but then you got people who are like, this is one of the best games I've ever played. So I think that's exactly where we're at with Halo Infinite. It's like they took the series way too far down this one route. They need to take their time, back up, revitalize the series, refreshen it, and that's what Halo Infinite is going to be. So here's what I think the legacy is going to be, Josh. This is my guess. This is my opinion based on little to nothing. I think Halo Infinite is going to go down in history for many, many people as probably, barring, no issues we don't know about yet, probably the best Halo ever for a lot of people, because Breath of the Wild is the most recent Zelda, and it is a lot of people's favorite Zelda of all time. Even years later, people are like, yeah, best Zelda ever made.
Oh, wow.
I think Halo Infinite is going to be some people's favorite Halo of all time, and it's going to stay in that spot for a long time, if not forever. But I think you're also going to have a not small amount of people, maybe like myself, going, love and respect Infinite, but you just can't beat the classic, like the Halo 1, 2, the level structure, those moments, those setup.
Beat the GOAT.
Yeah, you just can't beat the original stuff. So like it'll be those kind of people will be like, Halo Infinite's great, I love it, it's amazing, but it's the original stuff's always going to be the prime stuff for me. So you're going to have those two camps, but I don't think there's going to be many people who come away saying this game is. What I can see is going off of the Zelda series once again is people who really hated the changes to with the open world format, who are really salty and kind of can't have like a objective kind of mature rationale. They'll just shit all over Breath of the Wild all the time. Breath of the Wild's the worst Zelda. They ruined it. Blah 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 blah. I can see that with Halo Infinite. Like people will be like, oh, I missed. People will be like, oh, Halo Infinite doesn't have any snowy levels, doesn't have any desert levels, all in the vein of having open world, and it wasn't worth it to have an open world. I would have rather had snow levels and desert levels. And don't get us wrong, me and Josh would love to have snow and desert levels. It sounds like this campaign is all Pacific Northwest, that greenery type Halo Combat Evolved Halo level aesthetic, but it's a trade-off, and I think it's going to be a very good legacy. Same goes with the multiplayer right now. The multiplayer, the legacy of it seems like it's going to be, wow, proper step up, the proper evolution of Halo 3, this proper direction. I'm just feeling really good about this right now, Josh, and it's literally less of me being hyperbolic because I'm actually really trying to be objective right now. I'm not being subjective. I haven't played the campaign. I've only played multiplayer for a few days, but what I'm seeing and the vibes I'm getting is that objectively this is going to have a great legacy. Once again, one other thing I would compare it to before I pass it over to you, Josh, God of War, kind of the exact same thing. God of War, amazing, amazing game. They kept innovating, and then it kind of got stale. You got God of War 3, okay, then we go into Ascension. We got the PSP spinoffs. It's kind of the same thing. People are getting stale. They're sick of God of War. God of War Ascension sales were lower than ever. Then you get God of War 2018, revitalizes the series, completely changes it. But then you're going to have some old school hardcore fans who are like, those original God of Wars, that was my thing, and the new one doesn't really capture that. So it's just kind of it's starting to become a trend in the industry now to like breathe new life into these series in this way. And I think it's going to, if you look at the legacy of Breath of the Wild and God of War 2018, they're both seen as some of the best games ever made, and people still love them. I think that's what Halo Infinite's going to be. Over to you, Josh.
No, yeah, that's a fair point. It's a shame I really haven't played God of War 2018 or any of the Zelda games, so I kind of miss out on understanding that. But I do also get where you're coming from, just based off what little I know about those games and just the history of those respective series. But I will say on the multiplayer side, I think you give me food for thought, because it's like, I didn't really say this before, but I do think what is there, despite the bare bonesness of it, it's a good foundation to build off of. And even though I'm not someone who likes the service stuff, I'm going to love that Infinite, a series, Halo, that I adore, is going to be getting these kind of updates. You can tell now, looking back, that all the shit they've done on MCC was practice. We're talking about practice. Not a game. Yep. Not a game. We're talking about practice for Infinite. So that's pretty cool to see, because you know what? It was really fun in Infinite. It was really easy, and obviously the system's a bit different in Infinite. But that's really good foundation. And also with the campaign, if they just knock this campaign out of the park, I mean, that's exciting. It's nice to go from the mindset of like, well, what do we do if this isn't good, to, okay, but what if it is really, really good? And that suddenly changes, I mean, I think that's awesome.
See, and another good thing I'll say, guys, is, of course, there's going to be a moment, probably at least a solid 30 days, if not more, after Halo Infinite comes out, where Josh and I are going to do, it'll either be a YouTube and podcast thing, or might just be a YouTube only thing, but Josh and I are going to do a review of Halo Infinite. It'll be our review of it, where we'll come together and give it a review, and, it's, despite whatever review we give it, I think this game is just going to be something that people really love. I mean, I think, and the thing is that when we review this game, we're not going to, well, I think Josh and I talked about this, so I'm going to put words in Josh's mouth, and if they're wrong, he can speak up, but we're gonna give that game a score, and I know our score is not going to matter compared to the IGNs and the giant behemoth content creators out there, but we're going to give it a score.
Nice map plug.
And our score is going to be on the quality of the campaign and the multiplayer that's there. We're not going to take a giant 1 or 2 points off for Forge and then another 1 or 2 points off for co-op. I know some people review it that way, but we're going to look at what's there, the campaign, the multiplayer, and we're going to review that as a whole. So right now, it's looking like Halo's got a good chance at being in that 9-10 range. We won't know. We'll have to say. We'll have to level each other's heads out and come to a, not a Josh and a Brian score, but a Sacred Icon score where we can agree on it and say, yeah, this is what that game is.
We definitely don't plan to spoil anything for about a month. We're probably not. We're definitely no. I should
even
say
that
we're
review
definitely not.
We might not have any spoilers.
Right.
We'll just keep it spoiler free, or do both maybe.
We know that everyone's going to be playing the campaign at different paces, and people are going to beat it at different paces. Some people have more time, less time than others. So for the first month of that game being out, no spoilers going to be talked about whatsoever. We'll talk about how we're feeling with it. We'll talk about our experience.
Feel free to tune into the show for the whole
we're not gonna
after the game comes out.
Exactly. We're not gonna make it hard for you guys to want to listen to that kind of stuff. So now we'll wait, and like Brian said, we're gonna do some fun YouTube stuff for sure with that too. And I might even stream some of the campaign. I don't know yet. I'm still kind of mulling about seeing if I can make that happen. But overall with this stuff, with the campaign preview and stuff, it is cool to see that people's takeaway is that of excitement and not concern, because boy, that would suck to have that going into this trench run. But I'm really happy to see the positive vibes. What I have seen of the gameplay of the openness, it's great just seeing Sheep be able to roam around and see all these different little skirmishes that you can encounter and stuff like that. To me, that's something that's just so excited. That's why I've always wanted a longer Halo game, because I just wanted to be able to have those 30 seconds of fun even longer. I wanted to be able to dive into a Halo experience and live in it. I feel like when I play when I dive into a Halo experience, I'm trying to survive. And that's cool. That's what I'm used to. But it's going to be kind of neat to live in this stuff, even though I know I'm trying to survive too. But let me delve into this stuff. Let me explore. Let me go get some Valor points, rescuing Marines, taking down some towers. I don't care if it gives me Ubisoft vibes. I don't care if it gives me Arkham vibes. Don't give a damn.
Well,
I just
that's
wanna
another
have
thing,
fun.
Josh. I've been hearing from previews is that people are saying this is not Far Cry Ubisoft vibes.
I'm hearing the opposite, actually. I've been hearing
Really?
more of that. Yeah, lately
Okay.
I have. But
Okay,
to be fair,
we must be looking different places.
well, I was gonna say, to be fair, you have seen more of that than I have, so I'm sure yours outweighs.
I know IGN was one that said it wasn't like that.
I did hear that. Yeah, I do.
Yeah, a couple of content creators said something similar. Josh, I will say there's one thing. So, for final impressions on this campaign before we move on to just talking about the Battle Pass a little bit more, I think would probably be good.
Yeah.
I would say the one concern I have, which isn't really a concern, it's more of just a preference, is one of the things and we've talked about this on the podcast before, one of the things I love about the Halo, all the original Halos, and even Halo 4 even applies to this, is that Bungie and then 343 with Halo 4, they would make encounters like structured where you have like, you're coming up on 4 grunts, 2 elites, and a jackal sniper.
Right.
And those little like structured moments with enemies would be what makes the gameplay so fun. And then we've talked about in the past on the podcast how in Halo 5 they didn't really do that. They kind of just had enemies spread out all over the map, and it was kind of just a shooting gallery.
Yeah.
And even though this seems a lot better than Halo 5, from all the campaign footage I have watched, and I've watched quite a bit, it seems like it's still the shooting gallery.
Okay.
It seems like you go into an area and there could be 20, 30 enemies spread out all over the place. And it doesn't seem like it seems like we might not be getting those little structured moments of like, 1-2 brutes and a grunt here and a couple elites here. But that's not a negative thing or a bad thing. I could just see us in the future. And this is what Josh and I talk about when we talk about the legacy. We all know we're probably going to be pumped as hell a month from now. But when the game is a year old, 2 years old, 3 years old, what are going to be the things that the community is regurgitating and saying that we didn't realize in the beginning? And I feel like one of the things I might be saying is that I kind of miss those structured moments of coming up on little enemy encampments where you have this little encounter and this little skirmish, because it doesn't feel like that's really the case with Infinite, but that's just an opinion. Overall, looks great. I'm super excited. Josh, if you don't have anything more to say, I'd like to talk about the Battle Pass.
No. I still got a couple things I want to say about that. So, yeah, biggest thing is that, that's what I'm saying is I think that's going to be a huge takeaway going forward in terms of the legacy, is this going to be something that, once the dust settles, are people really going to be used to this type of structure, these types of combat encounters, and really like prefer them, or just love them as they are and like not have any really no real cons to it? Or are they going to be like, damn, I do kind of miss that stuff? You got to think there's going to be some of it. And as much as people don't want to compare it to other Halos, every person's probably going to be doing that because it's just, it's part of the history of it. So you're basing it off previous memories and stuff. I think, for me, it's like I'm playing, I know when I see this stuff, although I've stayed, thankfully, spoiler-free, it's exciting to see, like, little peeks at the story because I'm really excited to get to that core story. I keep hearing that it's like, it's like the, I'm trying to think, Alex put it so good, so good, and I'm chopping it up, but it was like the emotional weight of, like, 4, with like the grandiose moments. I think of even like 3. I'm paraphrasing, but he had so many great things to say about it. And mentioned
even like the scale of Halo Wars.
Yes, the scale even. I mean, it just sounds like a good amalgamation, and sometimes that isn't always a good thing. But if Alex says it's good, I believe it. And then considering how everyone else is like giving it unanimous praise, I'm inclined to completely believe it and get excited. I think seeing that stuff and seeing the general consensus is really a good sign that it's okay to get excited for this game. If you were anybody that was sitting on the fence and was like, well, man, all this stuff has been back and forth, like even us, how we said earlier about the multiplayer stuff, I think it's okay to be excited now. Like, let's get hyped for this game. I mean, as if we weren't already, but, it's okay. Like, people are enjoying the shit out of this campaign. People are hungering, foaming at the mouth. We got half the game out now. We're playing it, but we're chomping at the bits to see the other half, which is, in some ways, the more important. The campaign, the story, what happens to Chief, who is the weapon, are we going to get a name for the pilot so I can stop saying Oscar Mayer all the time?
Even watching all the campaign stuff, they don't show his name. He just goes by Echo 216 or whatever.
Yeah, I think gotta give him more info. I can't wait to see all that stuff. It's like, what's going on with all these other characters? Is Agrina going to show up in the campaign? Are they going to tease some kind of like set up for a sequel? Are they going to tease something that's going to lead into maybe DLC story for, for your Spartan, your personal Spartan? Is the Flood going to return? That's the biggest point of contention for me. I'm waiting to see. You would think they would, but also maybe they won't do it. But like, I'd love to see 343 take a crack at the Flood after they're taking a crack at the Brutes. And that's another thing. Brutes look like they are fun to fight against, and I can't wait for that. You know, all I need is to shoot some Coveys. Give me a Covenant Crunch battle, and I'm good, and I'm happy. But, man, the Brutes just look fun as shit to fight. Look like it could be the most fun to fight Brutes that's ever been in a Halo game.
I mean, people have said this already in the previews, and I think it's pretty clear cut. This is going to be the definitive Brute, because it just felt like Bungie never properly got them in a space of their own, and it seems like that's happened now.
But 343 was like, no, we need to prioritize this, and they probably knew that coming off Halo Wars 2. It's not like they just were like, yeah, we're not going to do Banished or something.
Well, my impressions, once again, from all these previews, man, is it just feels like they just said, we have to nail this.